Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to the second class of the series in which we are focusing on the evidences that prove that Quran is the word of Allah. Both historical and textual evidence proves that Quran has been preserved in its original form without any single alteration of any single word over 1400 years. Allah Almighty has said in the Quran in Surah number 15, ayat number 9, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إنا نحن نزلنا الذكر وإنا له لحافظون. The translation of this verse is that indeed it is we who sent down the Quran and indeed we will be its guardian. As we know that there were no printing presses and other modern methodologies at the time of Prophet Muhammad 1400 years ago in 7th century, but Allah Almighty protected this Quran from alterations and safeguarded its text. The Quran was initially safeguarded at the time of Prophet Muhammad mainly through oral memorization of the Prophet and his companions. Many companions they memorized the Quran completely, and at that time the Arabs were famous in strong memories and they remembered the whole Quran word by word. The Quran was also preserved at the time of Prophet Muhammad in written form, and it was written on animal skins and bones like shoulder blades of camels because they are broad and the stuff like that. Also, the angel Jibrail he descended down in each Ramadan and reviewed the Quran with Prophet Muhammad as it is evident from Sahih AHADEES. After the departure of Prophet Muhammad the Quran was first compiled in bookish form under the caliphate of Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq anhu, the first caliph, and under the caliphate of third caliph, all the unofficial copies of the Quran were destroyed, and only single official copy was circulated among the whole country. Until to date, that official copy is in the hand of every Muslim in the world. The oral memorization of the Quran that started from the Prophet ﷺ, continued from Sahaba, is still continued, and approximately in the world today there are 10 to 20 million people who have memorized the Quran word by word. Indeed, this memorization of the Quran is a huge mechanism for preservation of the last word of Allah to the humanity. If by chance we lose all the copies, all the text of the Quran, but still the Quran is in the hearts of 20 million people in the world and the whole text is preserved. And most of the people who memorize the Quran, they start memorization of the Quran in their childhood when they are 10 to 14 years of age. And we see today in the world that none of other religious scriptures is preserved in its original form and many alterations have been done. Quran confirms other religious scriptures like Torah given to Prophet Moses, Musa alayhi salam, Injil, the Gospel given to Prophet Isa alayhi salam, the Jesus, and the Zabur given to Prophet Dawood alayhi salam, whom they called David. In Quran, Allah Almighty has said in Surah Al-Ma'idah, ayat number 44, Inna anzalna at-Tawrata fiha hudan wa nur. Indeed, we sent down the Torah in which was guidance and light. And this ayah confirms that the revelation of Torah was from Allah Almighty. Similarly, about Zabur, Quran says in Surah Al-Isra, chapter number 17, verse number 55, says, وَآتَيْنَا دَاوُودَ زَبُورًا, and we gave to David the Zabur. And about Injil, the Gospel, Allah Almighty says in Surah Al-Ma'idah, ayat number 46, وَقَفَّيْنَا عَلَى آثَارِهِمْ بِعِيسَى ابْنِ مَرْيَمَ مُصَدِّقًا لِمَا بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ مِنَ التَّوْرَاةِ وَآتَيْنَاهُ الْإِنْجِيلَ فِيهِ هُدًى وَنُورٌ. And we sent, following in their footsteps, Jesus, the son of Mary, confirming that which came before him, in the Torah, and we gave him the gospel, in which was guidance and light. So, as we see, the Quran confirms the other religious scriptures, but it also confirms that these religious scriptures are modified. In various verses in the Quran, Allah Almighty has highlighted this fact. For example, in Surah Ma'idah, Surah number 5, verse number 13, Allah Almighty says, يحرفون الكلم عن مواضعه ونسوا حظا مما ذكروا به. But they changed the words from the right places and forgot a portion of what they were reminded of. And in Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah Almighty has said in Surah number 2, verse number 79, فَوَيْلٌ لِلَّذِينَ يَكْتُبُونَ الْكِتَابَ بِأَيْدِيهِمْ ثُمَّ يَقُولُونَ هَذَا مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ لِيَشْتَرُوا بِهِ ثَمَنًا قَلِيلًا. So indeed, woe for them, for those who write the book with their own hands and then say, this is from Allah, to exchange it for a small price. It's an established fact that all religious scriptures other than Quran are modified. They have many versions and different authors. These books have many contradictions also in their text. The alterations in these books also confirm that Quran is the book of Allah, as there should be one book in its original form on the face of the earth. That is the true and final message of Allah to the humanity. And Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is his last messenger and prophet to every person in the globe, wherever he lives and whatever is his religion. As this fact is mentioned in the Quran in chapter number 34 and verse number 28. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا كَافَّةً لِلنَّاسِ بَشِيرًا وَنَذِيرًا وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we have sent you to the whole of mankind as bringer of good tidings and to warn them, but most of the people don't know. Another very important thing to mention here is that the life history of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is also preserved by Allah Almighty, and his all sayings in the form of Sahih AHADEES are also preserved in its true form, while none of the previous prophets' teachings or life history is preserved in that form. So, if anyone wants guidance, both the last message of Allah and the life history of his last prophet and his teachings and sayings are preserved. May Allah Almighty show us the right path.